Budanov and his team kept the entire course of negotiations in Abu Dhabi under deep secrecy, for good reason, because the truth turned out to be too hard to accept. Over these 2 days, the head of the presidential office resolved a number of key issues that had remained unsolved for almost 4 years and forced the Russians to make serious concessions. On one hand, peace has become much closer, but on the other, we will have to pay a terrible price for it. So let's talk about this in detail next on Pit TV. Greetings, dear viewers. The head of the president's office, Budanov, has made his first statement after negotiations with Russia and Abu Dhabi. He stated that the trilateral talks in Abu Dhabi involving Ukraine, Russia, and the United States of America were constructive, but immediately clarified that no quick decisions were made on key issues, including territorial ones. Moreover, he reported that during the talks in Abu Dhabi, Russia put forward new, tough conditions regarding Donbass, leaving the key issue unresolved. At the negotiations in Abu Dhabi, economic issues, territorial matters, and the mechanism for a ceasefire were discussed. At the same time, Russia has increased its demands and now insists not only on being given Donbass, but also on its official recognition as Russian territory. Russia continues to demand that Ukraine withdraw its troops from the eastern regions and recognize the territories occupied since 2022 as Russian. However, Kiev rejects these demands. Even after the second round of trilateral negotiations, the Kremlin made it clear that it has no intention of changing its position. It was Budanov himself who, during the negotiations, reiterated a simple and principled stance. Ukraine cannot and will not consider any agreements that legitimize the temporary or permanent loss of its territories. This directly stemmed from the Ukrainian position, which had been formulated on the eve of the negotiations themselves, and Budanov firmly defended it in discussions with the Russian negotiators. During the consultations, Russia insisted on conditions that would legally secure control over part of the Donbass or create a special status format for the occupied regions, but the Ukrainian side does not agree to this. During conversations in the corridors of the diplomatic process, Budanov repeatedly emphasized that the territorial issue is the main stumbling block in the negotiations, and that any compromise that would undermine Ukrainian sovereignty over Donbass or other regions is unacceptable for Kyiv. In interviews circulating in the media on the eve of the negotiations, he directly called the territorial aspect the main pressure point that Russia insists on. Kiev has also already responded to Russia's ultimatums regarding the recognition of Donbass. Any recognition of the temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine by the Russians will give Russia nothing, since not everyone will recognize them, and most importantly, Ukraine itself will not recognize them, said Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.